Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Addie and this is my March wrap-up. So March was the longest month in human history. I just have to believe that as a very solid and true fact. Yeah, I read 8 books, and on one hand that seems like quite a lot for what was happening, but also it seems like not very many at all, but it was kind of okay. Yeah, so I read 8 books. I had 3,271 pages. 6 of those books were 4-star books and 2 of them were 3-star books. The first book that I read in the month of March I actually started in February, and I just never got finished with it until several weeks into March, and it was Layer of Dreams by Libba Bray, and it is the second book in the Diviner series. It's set in the 1920s. There is a paranormal aspect to it. It was just really difficult for me to read because one of the plot lines in the story is that there is this pandemic that is happening and they are blaming it on Chinese Americans and the people in Chinatown, and at the same time that I was reading about that, the exact same arguments were coming up and being used in real life. So like my life was imitating art and art was imitating life, and I was just like, I can't handle this at this moment in time. Like, it was rough. Eventually I got through enough of it that I was just like, okay, we're down to the ghost story. So now there are ghosts involved and I can deal with that. So yeah, that one took me a while, and it was ultimately like a 4-star book. Like, I loved the back half of that book. It went so quickly for me, but having to get through all of that with what is going on in the real world, I was just like, I checked it out from the library, so it was like, I don't want to have to put it down and then have to pick it back up again later. I just have to finish it. Like, I just have to buckle down and do it. So I eventually got through it and it was fine. The overall feeling I got from it was that I liked it. So the Diviner series is growing on me from that book. So I have not got the 3rd one yet. I don't know if I'll get to that anytime soon, just because I gotta be mentally prepared for life after reading that 2nd one, and I will be hitting that up again at some point, but I don't know when. The next book that I read was Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. I also read Prince Charming by Rachel Hawkins, and these are the 2 books that are out in the Royal series, and it is a series of books about the Scottish royal family and kind of the shenanigans surrounding them. First one that I read is the 2nd one in the series, and it's Her Royal Highness, and it's focused on Princess Flora and this girl named Millie Quint, who is from Texas, and she was kind of involved with her best friend, and then her best friend's boyfriend came back, and then she was all like back with him, and so she ran away from home a little bit because she got this really cool scholarship to go to the school in Scotland that has previously always been a boys' school, but this is the first year that they're letting girls in, and so she gets a scholarship to go to the school, and then she finds out she's rooming with Princess Flora, and after that they kind of just, they're enemies, and then they become friends, and then they become lovers. So it was just really cute, very fun. I loved Flora. She was great. I thought she was like a very well-rounded character, and like also Millie is so cool. She's like a geology nerd. She wanted to be like a geologist, and she was like, I want to go to Scotland to study the rocks, and I'm like, don't touch the rocks in Scotland. I watched Outlander. Don't do it. You'll travel through time. But it was fine. That's that one. And then the first book in the series is about Daisy Winters, who is the sister to the person marrying Alex, who is the next in line to be king of the Scottish family. Daisy's ex-boyfriend gives us expose on something or says something, and so they have to pull Daisy and her mom and her dad over to Scotland so that they can control the PR spin. Things spiral out of control. Anything dealing with PR is just going to be a bad time. Just all of the shenanigans of like what was actually happening versus what they thought was happening, and like what actually happened versus what the paparazzi was publishing was happening. Like, it was all kinds of all over the place, and I lived for it. I loved it. It was great. And little Miles. Ugh, loved Miles. And Sebastian, man, like, somebody get a hold of him. He's a mess. I hope the next book in the series is about him, because he needs like a redemption arc. He is just struggling so hardcore, and I'm like, you have to have redeeming qualities, dude. You're kind of just a rascal right now, and I don't know how to feel about that. When she puts out the next book, I will definitely be hopping on that one. I will be reading it. Both of those books were 4 or 5 stars. They were so cute and just exactly what I was looking for to lighten the mood and just really just, you know, like be pretty fluffy. The next book that I read was an ARC that I got from NetGalley, and it's called Vagabonds, and it was written by Hao Jingfeng. Vagabonds is a sci-fi story, and there is a settlement on Mars. Earth is kind of like hyper-capitalistic, and then Mars is very socialistic. society, and there is this group of students from Mars that have gone to like live for 5 years on Earth, and they are returning to Mars. The first part of the book, there's kind of like, it's more about the tensions between Earth and Mars. That seems to be like kind of the focus. And then the second part of it is more of the introspection of the students that were on the in-between, and that's why it's called Vagabonds, is because they don't feel like they're a part of either society because they've experienced both. And so they are all like struggling to figure out who they are. And my one criticism of this book is both of the stories were interesting. The part 1 and the part 2 stories were interesting. I just don't know that they were meant to be squished together the way they are, just because it feels like by the time it gets to part 3, they're like kind of tied together by like a 2-paragraph explanation at the end of the book. It was still a good time, and I enjoyed both stories individually. It was just, they were kind of Frankenstein together. So definitely check it out. I think it comes out April 15th. The next book that I read was Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. And when I tell you that I saw that this was described as Mulan beats Project Runway, Mulan is my favorite Disney movie, like, of all time. I can quote the whole thing. And then I love Project Runway. Like, I literally, my Make It Work poster on the back of my door, if you've seen like some of my other videos and stuff, I literally, like, and I have like a Tim Gunn meme up on my wall that somebody like literally printed out and sent to me in the mail because we were like bored. I honestly, like, this book was specifically tailored to my tastes, and I absolutely love this book, and I cannot wait to get a hold of the sequel. So what happens is our main character is this girl. She is a very good tailor, and women are not allowed to be tailors in this society. And so her father is kind of like old and feeble and can't really do the work anymore. So there's been this war in her country, and she's basically kept her dad's tailor business afloat. So after the war ends, her family gets called on to go be the imperial tailor, and her father can't do it, and they're not going to allow a girl to do it. So she pretends to be her brother to go and take her father's place in this competition. And then when she gets there, she finds out that it is a competition. Like, they just kind of framed it like, you're going to be the imperial tailor. And so then she goes, and then it's a competition. And so there's a whole bunch of shadiness and awfulness going on there. And so it was very competitive, and I enjoyed that. And then after that, she has to go on this quest to find these mythical materials to make these magical dresses that the bride-to-be of the emperor is wanting, because she doesn't want to marry the emperor. Like, it was all so good. I loved it. The whole first third of it is like Project Runway, and then there's like a whole quest after that. Like, I live for it. I cannot wait for the second book. It's gonna be so good. I really, really want to find out what the bride-to-be is gonna do to get out of marrying the emperor, because that's like a huge thing, is that she's like, this is why there was this competition and everything, is because she doesn't want to marry the emperors, and so she's making things very difficult so that she doesn't have to marry him. Like, she's buying time and everything because she's in love with somebody else. It's like all kinds of drama. I love it. So that's Spin the Dawn. The next book that I read was also amazing. Spin the Dawn was 4 stars. This one was also 4 stars, but it was All the Stars and Teeth by Adeline Grace. I freaking adore Amora. So Amora is a character who is like, I am ready for this, and I have been training for this for my whole life, and I am so ready to step up to the plate and do this and be good for my people. It was so refreshing. I don't know necessarily that a lot of stories that I've read have had characters like her. There are people that are reluctantly in charge, but like, she was fully, this is my duty and this is how I'm gonna do it, and I am gonna make everything good for my people, you know. And she like just attacked everything head on. Even though she was attacking things head on, she was still, oh, I made a mistake, like, let me go fix it. She wasn't like, oh, I made a mistake, it's not really a problem. I enjoyed her character so much, and it might be just because she seems like a very Aries kind of type person, and I'm an Aries. I just related, like, fire sign kind of type people or something, but like, I was about it. And then there was like a mermaid, and there was like pirates, and there was like breaking out of prison. It was all good. Yeah, it was a little predictable, and I don't even hate that. Like, it was so good, and I had a good time, and that's all that I was looking for. So definitely recommend checking out All the Stars and Teeth if you have not heard or seen anything about it. I thought there was going to be a love triangle. I did think that there was going to be a love triangle, but there's not, so you're good there. And like, her friend, not her friend, I forgot, Ferric, who is her like betrothed, he's just like a golden retriever, and I love him. So I can't wait to get my hands on the sequel to that one either. I'm so happy that I read all of that YA stuff. I was like, huh, mark me down. I am happy. This is good. The next book that I ended up reading was Bunny. This book, Bunny, like, what the frick happened there? If you have read this book and you want to discuss it like you were in an English class or something like that, please hit me up, because I just am a little, like, I want to analyze it so badly, but at the same time, I never want to read this book ever again. It freaked me out. So I would love to have a good discussion about it. I really think it would be an interesting book to read in an English class and then have discussions about it. There was just a whole bunch of literature analysis things that you could do with a story, and like, you know, a discussion about like unreliable narration and like all kinds of stuff. So it was a very technically awesome book, but at the same time, I was just going like, what the heck? The whole time. I was just all like, I don't want to be reading this anymore. I'm scared, but in a pleasant way. And I don't do horror, so it has to be pretty good if I'm willingly putting myself through it and being interested by it. So it was a 3.5 of 5 stars for me, because it's definitely just not in my wheelhouse of things that I read, but I would have enjoyed that if I gotten a hold of it in an English class. So my last book that I read in the month of March was Dreamland Burning by Jennifer Latham. It was a 4 or 5 star read. It was so good. It was about the Tulsa race riot, which as an Oklahoman, I was not aware of for a very, very long time. If we covered it in my Oklahoma history class, I do not remember it. I think the first time I ever heard about it was my junior year of college. It's not something that we talk about a lot. And so the fact that there is a book that discusses it and talks about the racial issues and stuff that are like, you know, prominent in Oklahoma society and like are set in our backyard and everything was so good. And the story follows Will Tillman, who is a teenager kind of coming of age during the time in 1921 when this was happening, and he is kind of gotten in a little bit of trouble. He is working at his father's record shop, and during that time he starts doing business with a pair of African-American siblings, the Good Hopes, and through them he kind of has to confront his prejudices, and then the race riots happen, and you know, like a lot of stuff goes on there. That story was really good, really interesting. And then also there's a present day story that deals with like modern racism and things that happen today. It follows Rowan Chase, who is a biracial kind of upper class teenage girl who has to figure out her privilege, is what I'm trying to say. While all of that's happening, they find a skeleton under the floorboards of the guest house in her backyard, and so the stories kind of tie together with that whole thing. So it was very good. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great, and I also was so impressed with how well the author handled the diversity within the story. I thought she tried very, very hard to really provide well fleshed out characters and people that were having to deal with like the nuances of different things. I was just so happy that this was a story that was being told and that there was a fiction novel that you could purchase that was about it, even though I didn't even know it was a thing that happened for like so long. And it was just a good read. I had a good time, and there was like the modern day story was good as well. The past story was really good, and I would recommend it if you were at all interested in anything that was happening during the Tulsa race riot. Like, definitely check it out. So yeah, those are my books that I read for the month of March, and I will see you guys next week with another video. I might actually see you with a vlog before then, so we'll see, because I am doing the owls and I have been vlogging. So that's kind of it, and I will talk to you later. If you like this video, please hit like. If you really liked it, hit subscribe, and I will see you later. Goodbye.